Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. I'm here with my little guy Luca. We're gonna have some lunch and chat about a couple topics that came up in my private Facebook group, Hormone Balancing, Fertility, and Beyond. Let me just get him something else to eat before we continue. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Susie Leachy. I'm a certified health coach specializing in women's health, and in particular, I help women naturally boost their fertility and balance their hormones. So, all right, let me get you something else to eat, Luca. He's eating some chili right now, but I can't put too much on his plate at once or on his tray rather, because he's kind of at the stage where he likes to throw a lot of food on the floor. So I have to just give him a little bit at a time, otherwise he starts throwing things. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, what's up, sweetie? There was a question that came up in my private Facebook group about improving the LH to FSH ratio, which tends to be elevated in women with PCOS. And by the way, LH and FSH are hormones, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. And just to give you a little bit of background in case you're unfamiliar. You want some more? Sorry, give me 1 second here. So I won't go into all of the detail, but definitely check out my video on phases of the menstrual cycle for more information about the role of these two hormones, LH and FSH. And but just so you know, in the beginning of your cycle, usually you get tested around day 3, assuming that you are menstruating. These hormones should be in a ratio of about 1:1. And in women with PCOS, this isn't always the case, but it's very common for the ratio to be higher, such as 2:1, 3:1 is commonly cited, or sometimes even higher than that. And also, just so you know, after you come off of the birth control pill, your LH can be high for a time. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay that way, but that's just a common thing that happens shortly after you come off the pill, which may just resolve itself. Next question. All right, and in particular, women who are lean with PCOS, sometimes you may have heard of it referred to as lean PCOS, they tend to have an even higher LH to FSH ratio than the average woman with PCOS, or a woman with PCOS who tends to exhibit the more classic signs. So first of all, let's just get into what causes LH to be too high in the first place. And one theory is that insulin resistance interferes with the LH and FSH in the brain. So basically the LH and FSH get messed up in their signaling down to your ovaries, and they end up signaling your ovaries to use cholesterol, which is what your hormones are made out of, to produce or make testosterone instead of estrogen. And I know that not all women with PCOS with this elevated LH to FSH ratio have high testosterone, but I do subscribe to the theory that there is some type of insulin resistance in nearly all women with PCOS. Oh, hold on. I just realized that I forgot to put on my microphone, which allows you to hear me a lot better. So I'm gonna put that in right now. Just have you focus on Luca for a sec while I do that. Hold on 1 second. All right, I'm actually missing the little extra piece that goes on here, but I'm really hoping that you guys can hear me okay. All right, let me get him a little bit more to eat, and then we will continue with our discussion here. Want some more? He's liking this chili that I made with some nice grass-fed beef and kidney beans. I think I showed you before that he was eating that in another video. It's one of his favorites. It's kind of a staple that we make around here. So anyway, do you want some water? No? Okay. What else would you like? Do you want some broccoli? Okay, here you go, sweetie. All right, so I was saying that I subscribe to the theory that there is some type of insulin resistance going on in nearly all women with PCOS. And testing for insulin resistance isn't always as simple as just getting a fasting blood glucose test or a fasting insulin test or even an A1C done. Many women who are lean with PCOS don't meet those standard requirements for insulin resistance, but for them it instead presents as more of a reactive hypoglycemia, meaning that following a high carbohydrate meal or food in general, your blood sugar and insulin levels will get really high and then drop too low. So you'll actually get hypoglycemic an hour or two after eating a high carbohydrate meal. Do you not want me to do this video, Luca? What's wrong? Do you want something else? More broccoli? And so you may feel symptoms such as shaking, dizziness, anxiety, sweating, and hunger an hour or two after eating a meal, that especially one that's very high in carbohydrates and maybe not balanced with enough protein and fat. So, for example, me personally, I have this issue. So I don't meet the normal, if you test my fasting blood glucose or fasting insulin, or you look at my A1C, it'll show that, everything's fine. But I do experience this reactive hypoglycemia. So when I have, a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates at one time, I do notice that, an hour or two later, I have some of these symptoms. And one example that I can recall, well, actually a couple examples, but the first one that I'll talk about is actually back when I was in elementary school, I experienced this. I went to a pancake breakfast that we had at the school, and so I went to this breakfast and had all these... What's wrong, sweetie? Are you liking your broccoli? Yeah? You just want people to pay attention to you. They are, don't worry. They're watching you too. So I had all these pancakes with syrup, very, very carbohydrate dense meal, as you can imagine. Not very balanced with fat and protein. And what happened? Well, I went home, and a couple hours later, I started to get really, really shaky and nauseous. I was even hyperventilating a little bit, and I just felt awful. And later on, I realized that this was a hypoglycemic reaction. And then, I'm pretty careful about not letting this happen, not letting my blood sugar get too low, not having too many carbs at once without fat and protein, eating regularly, keeping my blood sugar stable as much as I can. But another example, yes, Luca, another example that is more recent. What else would you like, sweetie? You're eating your broccoli. You like that? Do you want some milk? Here, sweetie. So a more recent example would be when I was pregnant with Luca, and usually at a certain point in your pregnancy, they do a test for gestational diabetes. And what you do is you drink something with a certain amount of carbohydrates in it. Usually it's this drink called glucola, but I went to midwives when I was pregnant, and they didn't do the glucola drink. They kind of gave you an option of various high sugar drinks to drink. So the one that I chose was cranberry juice, and they told me I could eat whatever I want, but then I have to drink this drink and then exactly an hour later get my blood sugar tested. So I figure, okay, since I don't typically eat a ton of sugar or carbohydrates, let me eat, very protein and fat rich breakfast with this, you know, large portion of cranberry juice to kind of stabilize my blood sugar a little bit and, you know, not get any crazy readings on this test. And they told me that I could do that. So, you know, I ate some eggs, I ate some avocado, and then had this cranberry juice. And you have to drink it within 5 minutes, by the way. And then I went to get my blood sugar tested exactly an hour after. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know the normal ranges for blood glucose levels, but it was 55, which is super low. You know, I was not even fasting. I had just eaten a meal, you know, an hour before, and it was 55. And just to give you an example, below 70 is considered hypoglycemic or low blood sugar, and anything 54 or below is actually considered an emergency situation, and you should go to the hospital because your blood sugar is dangerously low. So mine was only 1 point higher than that, and you know, I wasn't feeling so great. I was a little bit out of it, feeling a little dizzy, not feeling so hot. What else can I get you, sweetheart? Do you want some more broccoli? Here you go, love. Oh, you have food in your mouth already. Why don't you chew that first, sweetie, okay? All right, chew that, and then you can have some more, all right? Because you have a lot of stuff in your mouth. You have so much stuff in your mouth, Luca. All right, well, we'll try to get through this. I have a lot more that I want to talk about, but I know he gets antsy when he doesn't get enough attention. So we'll try. Okay, you okay, sweetheart? All right. So anyway, that's one theory, is that insulin resistance causes LH to be too high. And again, you may have an issue with insulin even if you show as not being insulin resistant on these typical tests. Okay, so another theory for why LH is often too high in women with, oh, so he's throwing stuff now, in women with lean PCOS is that these women tend to have higher beta-endorphins, which gives them a higher pain tolerance or higher pain threshold. So, would you like something else, sweetheart? Do you want some more water? Okay. So, I guess, you know, having PCOS isn't all bad if we have a higher pain tolerance, you know, that's kind of a good thing, right? But having these higher beta-endorphin levels also has been shown to stimulate the release of LH. So you can have too much LH and an imbalanced LH to FSH ratio if you have lean PCOS and happen to have higher beta endorphins. And by the way, the higher levels of beta endorphins is also one of the reasons why mood disorders are closely linked to PCOS. Okay, do you want broccoli or no? What else would you like, sweetie? Do you want that? Okay, chew what you have first. What's in your mouth? Let me see. Say ah. Ah. You have stuff in your mouth still? No? Okay, then you can have something else. Do you want more broccoli? Okay, how about oatmeal? Do you want oatmeal? Do you want this? Yes? Okay. And by the way, mood disorders run in my family, as does PCOS and diabetes and blood sugar issues. So this stuff there's a huge genetic component, and you know, I don't think that that's any coincidence in my family that all these different things are common. Would you like some more, sweetie? Alrighty. So overall, the cause of having this too high LH is probably multifactorial. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, nothing in your body happens in a vacuum. And that's the case as well when we're talking about hormone levels and the menstrual cycle. You okay, sweetheart? Was that a big piece for you? Do you want some milk? Okay. And so the causes and the impacts to your body are really far-reaching. And I just want to bring that up because the answer to this question of how to lower your LH and improve your LH to FSH ratio really isn't a simple and straightforward one. it's not just do this one thing or take this one pill and it will be fixed and your cycle will be regular and all your problems will go away. It just doesn't really work like that. The body is a very complex system, and so you definitely want to make sure that you're addressing all areas of your health and your PCOS. So that includes, let me just get this cup here. So that includes improving your diet and nutrition, especially managing your blood sugar levels for the reasons I mentioned previously. You know, having either you have insulin resistance, or you probably have it because you have PCOS and you have these reactive hypoglycemia reactions sometimes during meals. Again, just getting like, you know, a couple hours after you eat or in between meals, you feel dizzy, shaky, really hungry. These are all signs that you are hypersensitive to insulin, but it's not going to show up as the traditional insulin resistance. Getting good quality sleep is also super important, as I've talked about before. Exercise, especially focusing on strength training to build muscle, because building muscle improves insulin sensitivity. And also things like smart supplementation, reducing exposure to endocrine disruptors and environmental toxins, reducing stress in all forms, and addressing mental and emotional components. And I have talked about some of these individual areas to focus on and work on in other videos. I have one on nutrition, I have one on sleep, I have one on reducing environmental toxins. So go check that out if you want more information, but you definitely want to make sure that you're addressing all of those areas and not just focusing on one thing or looking for, you know, the one fix. But assuming that you have all of that dialed in, what else would you like, sweetie? Do you want strawberry? Assuming that you have all of those factors dialed in, and hold on, let me take a sip of tea. This person also, and I know that this person who asked this question, by the way, does a lot of research and is, you know, attuned to all these different areas of her health that she needs to work on or is working on. But this person also asked about herbs, specifically white peony and licorice, and the dosing for that. So before I get into this, I just want to caveat that I'm definitely not an expert on herbs, and I don't think that they should be. I've used them myself, so I'm definitely not anti using herbs, but I don't think that they should be the first line of treatment. And also they're very potent, they're very powerful, and they're not always well regulated. They can also have side effects, and they're usually not safe to take during pregnancy. So for all those reasons, hold on, let me just get another napkin. I don't typically recommend or give dosages for herbs myself, but with that being said, there's a really good book that I have mentioned in my group a while back. Do you want any more, sweetie? And it's called Period Repair Manual. Actually, I read the first edition, but the second edition came out a few months ago. It's by a naturopathic doctor, Dr. Laura Bryden, and she deals a lot with herbs, and she provides some recommendations in her book on dosing. So I thought that I would just read you an excerpt from her book that tells you how much of the white peony and licorice to take if you're trying to reduce your LH ratio. So again, this is not my personal recommendation. This dosing does not come from me, but this is what she says in this book. In case you don't have it, I'll just read you what it says. So it says, peony and licorice combination is something that I prescribe all the time for my PCOS patients. It has undergone one small clinical trial with good results. Great. Multitasking here. Okay, so in the trial, peony and licorice reduced serum testosterone from 137 to 85 in just 4 weeks. Peony has also been shown to reduce LH, which promotes ovulation. So reducing the LH-FSH ratio can promote ovulation in women with PCOS. All right, so what else you need to know? The exact quantity of the herb depends on the concentration in the formula, so please use as directed on the bottle. For best effect, take peony and licorice as a single dose in the morning before breakfast, because that is when your pituitary is most receptive. Pulse the dose by stopping for a few days each month. For amenorrhea, I usually recommend 25 days on and then 5 days off. Peony and licorice combination is a powerful medicine. Do not take in combination with fertility drugs. Do not take if you are younger than 18 because your pituitary ovarian communication is still developing. Do not start it until you have been off the pill for at least 3 months, or it may interfere with ovulation. Here's my name. Want this? Where did I leave off? Do not take for more than 6 months continuously because its effect on your pituitary will attenuate over time. You should not need peony and licorice for longer than 6 months. If it is the right treatment, it will work within 4 months. Your periods should then stay regular even after you stop taking it. If in doubt, please seek professional advice. Do not take licorice if you have high blood pressure. So I would definitely check with your doctor or your naturopath about this before doing this treatment, but I just want to share with you that that's kind of the best information that I can find in terms of how to use these two herbs to lower your LH. But again, you want to check with your healthcare provider and make sure that you have all those other factors dialed in before you get involved with the herbs, and I don't recommend them if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. Another popular herb that is sometimes used is Vitex, but I've actually read mixed things about using Vitex in PCOS, and especially if you have a high LH to FSH ratio. So for example, in this book, Period Repair Manual, that's my cat if you hear her, Dr. Bryden says that using Vitex can increase LH and therefore actually worsen PCOS. Whereas I found another prominent doctor who's an expert on PCOS, Dr. Fiona McCullough, and she said that Vitex has actually been shown to lower LH. So I've read mixed things about it, and so therefore I wouldn't really recommend trying it. I've actually used Vitex myself, not specifically for this reason, but for amenorrhea in general, and I got really, really bad headaches on it, and it didn't do anything to restore my cycle. So I haven't had the greatest experience with it. I know a lot of people swear by it, but again, I just wouldn't use it for this purpose because there have been mixed studies on it. Okay. So switching gears a bit, the second topic that I want to address today, do you want some more yogurt, sweetie? Is from Sam in my group, and she wanted to know how, some tips for buying good quality food on a budget. And this is a topic that here's my cat. We got the whole fam here, except for my husband. But yeah, this is a topic that, hold on, she's playing with the cord here. This is a topic that I have thought about a lot recently and gotten really passionate about, because I am, of course, as an integrative nutrition health coach, I feel like it's very important to buy good quality and nutritious food for my family. But, you know, I feel like it's also important to be able to save money and not spend more than you have to. And I think that budgeting is really a great tool and skill to have. No matter how much money you have, I feel like budgeting is always a really important thing to do. And I especially got involved with this because when I was on maternity leave with my little guy over here, I decided to leave my corporate job and be home with him and also start my own health coaching business. So because of that, we got even more involved with budgeting as our financial situation changed. And so I do have some tips for buying good quality food on a budget. The first one I have is to check out and I mentioned this in my nutrition video, but check out the Environmental Working Group's list of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So the Dirty Dozen are 12 fruits and vegetables, produce, that are the highest in pesticides. And they update this, I think, yearly. So it's not always the same 12. They'll update it based on what has recently been tested as being highest in pesticides. So those Dirty Dozen are the foods that you want to focus on for buying organic. And again, this is from the Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, I believe it is. And they also post a list of the Clean 15. So those are the 15 fruits and vegetables that have the least amount of pesticides. And those you don't really need to worry as much about buying organic. And they're often things with a thick skin or peel, like banana and pineapple, avocado. Those things, save your money. Don't bother buying organic for those items. And let me give him some more yogurt here. And again, that Clean 15 list is also updated. But if you just can't stomach the price of getting one of the Dirty Dozen organic, or the produce is just really expensive that week, another alternative, and this is something that we sometimes do as well, is using something like this, a fruit and veggie wash that removes, I don't know exactly the percentage, but a good portion of the pesticides, waxes, and chemicals that are on fruits and vegetables. So we use this for pretty much everything. It's not too expensive. It says proven to be nearly 400% more effective than water alone at removing those chemicals and pesticides. So use this. You can get it on Amazon. I have a link on my website for it. We just buy this one bottle and then we get a huge refill pack. And again, it's really not that expensive, and you're just spraying it, so a little goes a long way. So those are a couple of my tips. What else? Oh, so we always are very particular about our protein. So meat, yes, sweetie, meat, fish, eggs, etc. And in particular, would you like something else, sweetheart? In particular, do you want some almond butter? We always buy grass-fed beef and steak. And one tip that I have for that is that in Australia, all of the beef has to be grass-fed. They don't grain feed any of their cattle. So if sometimes you will see beef or steak that's labeled, or other beef products that's labeled that it's Australian, it might not necessarily say that it's 100% grass-fed, but if it says Australian, then you can be assured that it is grass-fed. So that's another tip. Another tip is to buy seasonal and local. So buying this way, you'll actually get food that is more nutrient dense because it's in season, it's locally grown a lot of times. So like in shipping, a lot of times, it'll deplete, some of the nutrients will get depleted. It's just the quality is not as great. But if you're buying seasonally and locally, you're going to get better quality, and it also tends to be less expensive. So for example, we tend to get most of our produce at a farmer's market near my husband's work, and it tends to be a lot more cost effective to do that, and then we'll get the rest of our groceries at ShopRite. What else you want, sweetie? Want some crackers? Okay, here, sweetie. Okay. Again, I've said this before. We try to give him mostly whole foods, but we give him a couple high quality processed things as well, especially when you're in a bind, like trying to finish a video and he needs to be occupied. So anyway, yes, buy seasonally and locally, and you'll get more bang for your buck, basically. Also, another thing to do is look for sales and then buy extra and freeze items when they're on sale. So for example, if I see, I'll go back to my grass-fed beef example, if I see that the grass-fed beef is on sale one week, then I'll buy at least 2, maybe even 3 packs, and then just freeze it all. And then the next week when it's not on sale, then I won't get it. So, and same thing with, fish. If they have the wild caught sockeye salmon that we love so much on sale, I'll, buy a few servings of it and then put it in the freezer for later. Right? And looking for sales kind of ahead of time and planning is also a good way to go about it. And I do that for not just produce, but for other items as well, like canned goods. When they're on sale, I stock up on those. Any freezer items, like anything that's on sale, I'll try to get multiple when it is on sale, and I'll try to not buy it at all when it's not on sale. Same thing with eggs. Like I said, we always try to get the best quality eggs that we can. And usually I'll buy at least 3 dozen if there's a good price on one of the brands that we really like the pastured or free range eggs. And then I just won't buy it the next week if it's not on sale. What other tips do I have? So also some of the basic things, like use a frequent shopper card to get the best discounts. Use coupons whenever you can. And I also like to use an app called Ibotta, Ibotta. And you can basically get cash back on it's not just for groceries, but I do use it for groceries and for Amazon and for a couple other online retailers. But basically you can get cash back on certain items that you buy. So some weeks we'll get, $4 or $5 back on our grocery bill, and all you have to do is just scan the receipt with your phone and select the items that you purchase that are, part of their specials this week, and then you just get that money back. So that I feel like is totally worth it as well. I think those are all the tips I have. If I think of more, then I'll definitely let you know. But hopefully those are helpful. All right, so we will wrap up here. I think this little guy's about done. And I do just want to mention a couple things. I do have a free guide on my website with my top 5 tips for boosting your fertility. So if you want access to that, it's a great place to get started. Just go to the homepage of my website, which is healthequilibriumcoaching.com. Put in your first name and email address, and you will get access to that free guide. And you'll also be added to my mailing list, where I share other great tips for balancing your hormones and boosting your fertility. And I'll also send you weekly reminders when my videos come out. What else? So all my videos are, I do Facebook Live, then I upload them onto YouTube. And my channel is Susie Leachy. So if you like this content, please share it with a friend. Please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, etc. On YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're seeing it, because it helps me reach more people and keep putting out free content for you guys. And if you're not already a member of my private Facebook group, I invite you to join. It is called Hormone Balancing, Fertility, and Beyond, and we have a great group of women there. I share a lot of the same content that I share on my Instagram and my Facebook page, but it's a little bit more personalized, and I do ask for questions there and topics that you want to discuss or want me to talk about on these live videos. So definitely join over there if you're not already a member. And I think that's all we have, right, Luca? I think that's all we have for you today. So thank you so much for listening and watching. If you catch the replay, let me know, say hi, drop an emoji, and I will hopefully talk to you guys next week. Have a great day. Bye.